You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
We're not a bad football team. We just do stupid stuff.
The Jets are 1-7 and have major questions at quarterback. With no quick fix seeming apparent, should Woody Johnson clean house?
What could be worse than a 6-turnover performance at home? 7.
Yeah, 7 is worse than 6. And that's about the nicest thing you can say about yesterday. Ryan Ruocco, Dave Rothenberg with you on ESPN New York, 98.7 FM. This portion of the show brought to you by the Empire State Building. Feel the heart of New York City from atop the Empire State Building. Enjoy breathtaking views of the big city and beyond. Buy your tickets online at empirestatebuilding.com. Open daily till 2 a.m. Dave, the news just breaking, John Beeson is out for the year for the Giants.
Which is not surprising news. The toe's been giving him trouble. They thought he might need surgery. He came back a little bit. So, again, that's why they got him for a 7th-round pick. John Beeson is always hurt.
I feel bad for Jets fans, Dave. I mean, I know last week.
You genuinely do.
Yeah, because I think Jets fans are terrific fans. And they don't deserve this. And they felt good about the 8-8 season. And they felt like something was building. And they knew their team was set up. It had 12 draft picks, and it had a whole lot of money. And you couldn't have asked for a better slate for the general manager. And not only did he do nothing to make you a winner this year, he's made you feel like the entire situation is worse.
Well, it is. Isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. And look, part of me thinks, well, John Idzik wasn't put in a fair spot necessarily. He was asked to inherit a head coach, and he's only been given a year and a half, and is that really a reasonable amount of time? But think back to this. Remember, at the time the Jets were courting this general manager here, he was not one of the first, second, or third options we were hearing. And when you realize that, you wonder if he really is a guy who's capable and competent at that position, because the NFL is a league in which you can turn it around so quickly that it's really not acceptable to have that cap space sit when there was players at the positions of need available to you.
You can't give away seasons in the NFL. Now,
you really can't.
You not in this
it's not
day
like
and age.
It's not like the NBA where the Philadelphia 76ers, they shouldn't go spend money on Josh Smith. This is the NFL where you can turn it around like that.
Very quickly. Look at the teams that have done it. The Chargers were bad a couple years ago. They're back. The Colts were awful a couple years ago. They're back. I mean, the Cowboys have been very mediocre. They look to be good. The Eagles were bad a couple years ago. They're back. All of these teams, it's very quick. It's exactly what the Roger Goodell and the NFL has wanted. Mediocrity. Couple teams that are really good. Couple teams that are really bad. The bulk of the teams are very average, and the Jets can't even be average in a league that tries to make you average right now. And I put out on Twitter, because we had the lunatic before saying you guys are giving backhanded compliments, and we said we're not giving any compliments. I said, tell me something that's good about the Jets right now. And you know what the number one answer of many, many different Jets fans was? We're halfway through the season. We only have 8 more games to sit here and deal with it.
I feel bad for fans when that's the case, too. Like, you look forward to these games. You want to be able to enjoy them. And the rest of the year, if you're a Jets fan, you're going to be wondering if you should even root for your team. You should never be sitting here in Week 8 wondering if it's better for you to be rooting against your own team the rest of the year. That is awful. I mean, that is truly awful when it's coming off of 3 years in which you missed the playoffs, a year in which you had 12 draft picks, and when you're looking at a team with a ton of cap space they haven't used. This is unacceptable.
So they're 1-7 now, right? At the Chiefs. Loss? Home to the Steelers.
Loss.
It's 1-9. At the Bills.
Loss.
So you think they're going to lose 10 games in a row?
I think they should lose every game.
Home to the not should or
no,
can.
I think they should.
But can they win
It'd be
these
poetic
games?
if they did.
Home to the Dolphins.
Loss.
1-11. And then the only 2 games I think they have a real chance to win. Home to the Dolphins. At the Vikings.
Yeah.
And at the Titans. And then home to the Patriots and at the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah, you're losing those.
So if things go well, they'll go, what, 3-13?
I think, honestly, if you're a Jet fan, that's what you should be rooting for. Because sometimes it takes that in order to spark the change. Like yesterday was illuminating. And if you're the owner and you're sitting watching that game, if you care at all, you got to be just sick to your stomach. That's a vile performance yesterday at home. And it's one that should, ding the bell a little bit more clearly of this can't go on. Yeah, exactly.
There's the bell.
There
Where's
is
Joe
the bell.
Panic?
Hey, Joe Panic's doing well. He's doing well.
We'll get to Joe Panic and Madison Bumgarner. Just hang on.
2 big doubles in Game 4. That's
go.
right. Chuck in NYC. Chuck, you're on the Maserati of Morris County hotline.
What's up, bud?
Hey, how you boys doing?
Good.
While I agree that, yes, you should start from scratch, I think the problem is Woody Johnson.
But nothing's going to happen with that.
I know, but then we should just, as Jet fans, be accepting the fact that it's going to be this kind of failure until he's gone.
But that's not happening. I mean, Woody Johnson is your owner for the long term.
I know. That's the part that I'm having trouble accepting. Because if you just look at a lot of the decisions or things that he's wanted to do, going back from the West Side Stadium, Brett Favre, Tim Tebow, even bringing Rex Ryan, it was more for popularity, getting the back page, than actually winning.
Well, no, I mean, you know what, Chuck? I think that's convenient for us to say. I don't think that's what actually motivates Woody Johnson with the moves you just brought up. I think, Rex Ryan, he took him to 2 AFC championship games his first 2 years. We weren't saying, well, this move is all about, back pages. No, it was
and
good.
Even if it was. Even if that was the impetus about, we want back page.
But did anybody even know Rex Ryan was that
but he was
kind
a
of
big
guy?
personality, and he kind of took over the city for a little bit of time. But even if that was the impetus, we'll bring in a guy who takes headlines away from the Giants and brings in the Jets. He succeeded.
Yeah.
Even if that wasn't the initial plan, he succeeded at the highest level.
And Brett Favre, I had no problem with you going after him whatsoever. He still had some good football.
And
left
were you
in
complaining when Brett Favre was 8-3 with the Jets?
No. And how about what he did with Minnesota once he left? He had good football left in him. Those moves are not cosmetic moves. Those were real good football moves. I didn't ask you the one question.
What's your question?
That has to be asked today about a real strong reaction to yesterday. And I didn't ask it right now.
And you're not going to ask it now,
I'm going to double tease again. Is there some kind of buzzer we could hit when I do that?
No, but I'll tell you what, I'll hit for you. How's that?
All right.
An unheard of. This is like the triple Lindy.
It is. It's unacceptable.
Do you know the triple Lindy?
Oh, I know the triple Lindy. I'm all about the triple Lindy.
You don't know the triple Lindy.
I have no idea.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
Hoops is here, Dave.
This is tomorrow?
It's tomorrow. Tomorrow, the NBA is here. Tomorrow's one of those just days of wonderfulness, like a hamburger in your belly where you have...
You don't eat meat.
But I still appreciate a burger. Every once in a while, I may slip a burger in my mouth, okay? It might happen every once in a while, because how could you not? But we have NBA.
Yeah.
And,
so
it's a one time when all the seasons interlock. Yeah, you have Game 6. Might as well just call it Joe Panic. We have Joe Panic.
Right. The World Series should be named.
Joe Panic.
Renamed, yes, Joe Panic.
I agree. We have that. We have the NBA back. We have the NFL. And the hockey's here. It's a beautiful time.
Can you pay off the tease?
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought Mike Vaccaro wrote an awesome column today in the Post. He's such a terrific writer, and thought he wrote a great column today in the Post. And he talked about firing Rex now, today. Not waiting. And I have to tell you, Dave, my reaction to yesterday's game was one of clarity where I just realized, because I like Rex a lot, and I do think he'll go and he'll be a good coach somewhere else. But you just realize it's over. This era's over.
Sure it is.
It's done. But then the question becomes, do you wait or do you do it now? So do you think, 1-7, your season has gone down the tubes, no shot now, he's not going to be back. Would you do it now?
No.
Why not?
Well, why? That's why. What is the point of firing him today?
Doesn't do anything for your team this year,
right?
Other than give people a head start on your job being open for potential candidates. Just knowing that
he'll be fired the day after the season.
Agreed.
The Jets will have the jump. The Jets can even start now if they wanted to put feelers out for guys.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. Okay,
but
coaches that get fired during the season. That's embarrassing. To get fired at all is embarrassing. Woody Johnson, as far as I'm concerned, from everything I know about him, is that he really likes Rex Ryan.
So you don't think he'll do that?
I don't think he will, and I don't. If you told me, Dave, this is why you should, then maybe I could buy into it. I don't see the advantage of firing Rex Ryan today and going through the second half of the season with Marty Mornhinweg as your head coach.
Well, no, it's not an advantage. It's just a matter of, is it a message you need to send that this is not okay? this is not okay, and we're not waiting any longer? Is it the message to your fan base that there's going to be change around here because I am not okay with what's going on either? Does that message need to be sent now rather than letting this fan base and this organization marinate in a second half of the season in which it's just meaningless and full of losing?
Look, I'm very pro making changes when it's necessary, and I think it's necessary. I just don't know. I mean, do you need to send a message now to the fan base? They can endure another 8 games, and if you tell me you sit here late in the season, you give another vote of confidence, you have a locker room speech where Rex is going to be back and everybody cheers, that would be a disaster. But the day after the season is over, you clean house, and like most other teams do it, you start the process then.
He's been a great ambassador for the organization.
I think it's embarrassing.
Yeah, he's brought an interesting cachet to the Jets, and there was a great cool factor for a while. It's run its course. It's over. I think we've all kind of come to that sobering reality. So maybe for what he's done for you, you don't want to embarrass him in that way. But I have to tell you,
I still think the owner likes him.
Yeah, fine. He likes him. He doesn't want to embarrass him. He'll keep him. Maybe that's what it comes down to. Yeah, I think he's well within his right if he wanted to can him in the middle of the season.
I don't think it would be an egregious mistake. I don't think that we would sit here tomorrow if Rex was fired. Idzik speaks at 1:30 today. I don't think that we would sit here and we would be like, oh, my God, what an awful move. I just don't see the point.
The only point would be to indicate that this is not okay. Nothing about what's gone on is okay. It's not okay. By the way, Rex was asked about his immediate job security and if he's worried about it.
No, I'm not worried about. I mean, hell, I worry about our team. You know, I'm not gonna. The team's always the focus, and again, and that's the truth. I tell you that because it's true. So I'm not, thinking about my future or anything else. I'm just trying to get this team, to play better.
By the way, you know where Rex will be at 5:15 today.
On the Michael Kay Show.
And you know where Michael Vick will be at 3:30 today.
On the Michael Kay Show.
That's right.
And do you know where Jerry Reese will be at 4:30 today?
On the Michael Kay Show.
Do you know where Derek Fisher will be at 5 o'clock today?
On the Michael Kay Show.
Do you know where Stevie Young will be at 4 o'clock today?
On the Michael Kay Show.
Do you know where you will be from 3 to 7 today?
On the Michael Kay Show.
Do you know where Jeff Candemo will be at 3 o'clock today?
On the Michael Kay Show?
No, I don't know where Jeff will be.
Okay.
We were rolling so well there.
Yeah,
I thought I'd throw that out.
We did have something going. I was going to say, is Dinahan not here? I've already seen him. Yeah.
No, he's here. I know.
You're right. It was worth throwing in there. Would you start Vic next week?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah. I wouldn't even have to think about it. Geno Smith is terrible.
Yeah,
I've seen it. I mean, what do you want me to tell you?
That third now all the interceptions were awful.
The guys were covered like blankets on every throw.
He was a sabotage machine yesterday. He was unspeakably awful. But that third interception, after you've thrown the other two, how do you let that happen? That's like you carelessly broke 2 bottles of wine in the wine cellar.
And then you're juggling the third one up the stairs.
Exactly. That's exactly what that's like. Oh, no, it's not going to happen this time. That's exactly what it's like.
Do you know the last time a quarterback threw more interceptions than completions in a game?
I do actually know this. It was 2006. Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
That's not good company.
No, it's not good company.
It's not good company. It's not at all. Here's Michael Vick on, would he expect a better performance from himself if he was given the proper reps in practice? Because, he turned it over 3 times yesterday, too.
Absolutely. I expected, to go out and do a lot of good things today. Obviously the 2 fumbles and the interception, wasn't on the agenda. But, some things that I learned, just, going back to the basic fundamentals of playing quarterback and, that's keeping 2 hands on the ball, protecting the ball in the pocket. And, not taking, some calculated risks, when it's not necessary, So, I tried to do some things. I tried to put our team in a position, to score points. And, I got desperate, but I shouldn't have, And that just can't happen. So, I understand the things that I didn't do so well, and what I can improve on, and maybe we can build something from here.
The one thing I'd say though, the season's over. Aren't you better off just giving Geno the starts and seeing what the rest of the season looks like?
But I know what
you already
Geno
know.
is.
You don't need to see him.
Don't you?
You know what the question is?
Could Geno do anything over the final 8 games where you'd go, you know what, Dave?
No.
Maybe he is.
I don't think so.
All right, so then why?
Yeah, you almost might be better off seeing Vic and saying, well, could he be a guy next year to hold you over if you didn't end up with a quarterback who you think is a future franchise?
If you told me, first of all, Michael Vick is a turnover machine.
He really is.
Every time he tucks it and runs, he puts the ball on the floor. But here's my thing. Michael Vick should be gone from this team next year. They should bring a real quarterback in to be the starter, whether it's a young guy or a veteran. I don't know, maybe Jay Cutler falls out of favor in Chicago or whatever it is. Geno Smith should be your backup quarterback, and that's the way you move forward.
Chris in Manhattan. Chris, you're on the Maserati of Morris County Hotline.
And gentlemen, thank you for taking my call. Actually, I don't mind that, Dave. But I mean, speaking to where I am as a Jet fan, I'm hoping that you have control of the music today because I want you to play a little Phil Collins because I don't care anymore.
No, I don't have control. And
but we might be able to get that.
Do you know
Jeff,
what happens
right?
if I play Phil Collins? They laugh at me that I'm old and what am I doing? And you see how it works with this show.
But you know what, Jeff? We might be able to get that, right? We might be able to get him a little Phil Collins to make him feel better because he doesn't care anymore, right? Jeff says we might be able to find it for him. Maybe Jeff fans, I think they kind of need that right now. Nino in San Diego, listening on the app. How about Nino, all the way from San Diego? How are you,
fellas.
Nino?
I'm doing great. Listen, this Jet team has brought me back to the Dan Marino fake spike era. It's just mediocrity week after week. And the point that I wanted to make with this talent is, if my memory serves me correct, John Idzik was a cap specialist.
Yep.
And, when I'm looking in the papers here, they've got a photo of Josh Mauga. Remember him, linebacker for the Jets on the roster a couple years ago?
Uh-huh.
He's having a pretty good year out in Kansas City. We'll see him next weekend. But I question Idzik's talent evaluation capabilities. Going forward, I don't think he's the guy to steer this organization in the right direction. But let's go back to Woody Johnson. Remember back in Leon Hess's day? Now, I'm old, I want to win now. I'm going to hire Rich Kotite.
Yeah.
Here we go again. And that, as a previous caller said, oh, Jesus, I've been a fan since 73. I've come to expect mediocrity from this organization.
And that's not good, Nino.
Stinks.
That's you know what? That's my problem with what happened yesterday. I am watching that and I'm saying, oh, this is just so typical. That should never be my reaction. I should not watch what happened yesterday and have that reaction. I should be like, whoa. What is going on?
Unacceptable.
Here? Right.
Things like that happen and we make changes. And you know what? Everyone's calling, a lot of people calling saying, well, Woody Johnson, there's nothing's going to happen with Woody Johnson. Okay, he's the owner of the team. He will continue to own the team, and that's not going anywhere. But when you say John Idzik, and I think that he brought up a really good point, he doesn't have confidence that John Idzik is the talent evaluator that they need. I think that's a very fair argument, and I would have that very same concern sitting here right now.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
You know who's hot in the NFL?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Quarterbacks in general,
Yes.
good quarterbacks. Big Ben was unbelievable yesterday. Tom Brady has been incredible of late. Go ahead, tell the numbers since you're such a Brady guy. Go ahead.
I like Tom Brady. Is that wrong?
It's not wrong.
If that's wrong, I don't want to be right. Tom Brady, over his last 4 games, Ryan, I think it's 1,400-plus yards, 4 touchdowns.
14 touchdowns.
14 touchdowns, no interceptions.
That's terrific.
That's unbelievable.
Very good. And Peyton Manning had a great week. I mean, really good quarterback play this week.
But Peyton
Terrific
Manning wasn't even, special. He was just very average for Peyton Manning, right?
I just thought I needed to say that since you were saying something about Brady.
Oh, you needed to counterbalance that?
I felt like the right thing to do.
They play each other this week, by
I
the way.
know.
That's
and I kind of like that it's a 4:25 game. You know who wasn't hot, Dave, this weekend?
Geno Smith?
Well, he was awful.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think it's even further amplified. When you see the quarterback play that there was around the league this weekend, and even Zach Menberger looked immensely better than Geno Smith did this weekend. And you see how bad Geno was, you're just like, oh, awful. But no, you know who was not hot? The coaching at the end of the Lions-Falcons game. What was that?
It's terrible.
Mike Smith and Jim Caldwell were both doing their best to try and lose that game at the end. That was Jim Caldwell. If not for that defensive holding call, Jim Caldwell on a third down. I'm 99% sure if I remember right. It was third down with 20 seconds left, and instead of spiking the ball to line up his field goal,
They ran the play.
They ran. He's going to have to do a fire drill to get his field goal unit on the field and get that kickoff.
Now, they got lucky because there was a defensive holding penalty on the Falcons, which stopped the clock so that Prater could come on. He missed the first because the clock ran out, and then they gave him a second chance, and he knocked it home.
If there was no holding call there, I don't know if they would have gotten the field goal unit on the field.
Inexcusable. For the entire time that I've been watching football, it's always been like this. Just teams do not seem to understand clock management in big spots at the end of games.
It's unbelievable. And can we also say who's not hot on the college level? What was Ole Miss doing at the end of that game against LSU?
That makes Jim Caldwell look like Bill Parcells.
Ooh.
That's how bad that was. I don't know what was happening. He got picked off. They were at the 30. It looked like they needed a touchdown. They needed a field goal. They had to delay a game. What happened to Mississippi at the end of that game was incredible.
Look, the head coach is totally baffled by whether or not he's going to kick a field goal on third down or go for it. And it ends up resulting in a delayed game. So now with 12 seconds left, Ole Miss, instead of having to attempt a 42-yarder, it'd be a 47-yarder. So they decide, even though they have no timeouts, we're going to run one more play to try and get closer and make up for those 5 yards. Well, they try and get closer, and what would you do? You'd run like a 7-yard out. If you don't have it, son, throw it out of bounds, right?
Yeah, with no timeouts.
Instead, Bo Wallace, total brain fart, throws a heave to the end zone. Do you realize, Dave, I had that game DVR'd, and before I went back and watched the end of it, I saw the highlight. When I saw the highlight, I thought Bo Wallace was just having to throw a Hail Mary. I go back and watch that game. I'm like, whoa. That interception he threw in the end zone, they were in field goal range?
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Brett Favre NFC Championship game pick against the Saints where the announcer's like, what are you doing? All you need is a field goal. This is for the Super Bowl, not Detroit. You know, that's what Brett. It was that boneheaded a play.
They
were not
crazy. Now you said that's something I was going to change my view on.
Yes.
So what will that be?
How great was it having 9:30 a.m. football on Sunday?
I didn't.
Don't you lie here on these airwaves.
I watched it. I felt like I didn't have that time. I had to get up to Bristol to do the fantasy show, so I was listening to the car on the radio.
Think about if you hadn't had the fantasy
listening
show.
on the radio in the car, I guess I should say. If I didn't have the fantasy show, here's my issue. My son had a 10 o'clock football game. I would have had to go to that. I would have been guilted into that and pressured into that. I would have gone. And then I would have watched. I don't know. I didn't like it. I'm very set in my ways. I like my 1, my 4, my 8:30.
I'll tell you what. I thought it was amazing.
You loved it?
I loved it. I watched every second of it. Absolutely loved it.
You're a single guy in New York City on a Sunday morning. This is what I envision you. You wake up at 9. You get the papers. You get like a nice. I don't know. You don't eat meat, so some kind of an egg and cheese sandwich.
You got it.
Is this right?
Yep.
You bring it back. You watch the game. You're tweeting out.
Maybe
you're in your
you have
boxer
pants
shorts
on. Maybe you don't.
You're in your
Exactly.
boxer shorts and a V-neck, like a wife beater kind of a T-shirt, and you roll through the day like that.
Yeah, that is exactly how I rolled through the day. But remember, I had the bachelor party Saturday night with my cousin Shane. So it was not only, I mean, is that really a name drop?
Well, yes.
It's a shout out.
Yeah, but we don't know who this man is.
No, a name drop is like remember I planned the bachelor party for the president.
But all you need to do is say, I had my cousin's bachelor party.
No.
The name Shane does not matter to
anybody. It
anybody.
matters to a lot of people.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it does, especially after Saturday night.
Jeff, does it matter to you that his cousin's name is Shane? I don't think it does.
I think it does. I think it really does.
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
it doesn't matter.
No. You tell the stories. Otherwise, how many times do I have to explain to you that Kevin Spacey never gets away with what he got away with, as Kaiser Sose, if he doesn't use real names? If he goes through and he just sells pronouns, like, oh, yeah, the man who told the other guy that you don't believe the story.
Listen, if you're trying to pull off a mass murder, then I think you should throw names out there.
No,
if you're trying to exonerate yourself from brutal, gruesome murder like Kevin Spacey was in Usual Suspects, then by all means, mention Matt Siegel, mention Cousin Bobby, mention all the names you need to mention. Mention Joe Panic. But in this particular case, I think it would suffice if you, Ryan Ruocco, just happened to say, I was at my cousin's bachelor party Saturday night.
I'm always going to color my stories with the flavor that make them real. So,
but you said your cousin, not some guy.
Yeah, so my cousin Shane.
What cousin? Just my cousin.
Still a pronoun, man.
But it's still like it tells you who it is.
My cousin.
I'm making the stories come to life. I want to know everybody in your life, too, okay? So, bottom line is, everybody was, it's a Sunday morning after a bachelor party.
You were a little...
I was actually okay, but some people weren't. So I went and got a bunch of egg sandwiches, and we all just had egg and cheese and watched the football game. How perfect was that? Bacon, egg, and cheese for some. It was just glorious.
But that's the thing, is you don't have to worry about family obligations on a Sunday morning. Some of us do, and it puts a real crimp in your style.
The best. And you know what? I hope they do more 9:30 a.m.
I think they will.
I hope they do. This portion of the show brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of White Plains, the strongest, smartest, sexiest, sleekest sedan. Just arrived at Mercedes-Benz of White Plains, the all-new 2015 Mercedes-Benz C300. Stop it today to see it for yourself. Mercedes-Benz of White Plains, proud member of the Pepe Auto Group. By the way, we're taking the press conference at 1:30 of John Idzik here on ESPN New York. Can we just for a moment, can we celebrate Madison Bumgarner?
How good is this pitcher?
Oh, my gosh. And the only time he showed any emotion yesterday was when he was being interviewed post-game by Ken Rosenthal on Fox, and the fans started chanting, like, MVP, MVP, and he was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. But other than that, he's just, like, locked in, dominant. He is filth. You know what we say about a guy like him, Dave?
What do we say?
We say he was shoving last night.
Shoving?
Shoving.
Yeah, I don't know that. Shoving with a G or
yeah, you could put it's like a baseball term.
Shoving.
Shoving.
Okay. I don't know the shoving term, but he was great. And you know what? I think it's fair to say one game, need to win. CC, your guy CC came on with us last week and said he'd take Lester. No. Okay.
You take Bumgarner.
You take Bumgarner. And that's it. Because you know what he's doing right now? Shoving.
That's my man. That's right. My teammate Shanks reminded me of that term, shoving. And Jonathan Shanks, he knows how to shove because he could pitch back in the day.
Right, not your old teammate. Your teammate by the name of Jonathan Shanks.
Jonathan Shanks. Excellent teammate. One of the best of all time. .29 ERA in the World Series, lowest in history for Bumgarner.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
I have to go right here.
Yeah.
Is the Jets. Because, Ryan, I'll tell you, we sat here on Friday and we both thought it's no Aaron Rodgers, it's no Tom Brady, it's no Peyton Manning, it's no Jay Cutler, it's no Matthew Stafford. It's a third-string running back, and it's Kyle Orton, and the Jets are going to win this game, and they'll get to 2-6, and they fight for Rex Ryan, and things are going to turn around. Ryan, this thing is awful. It's worse than I thought possible, and I'm telling you, and I know a lot of people don't agree with this, I would start from the top. And Idzik would be gone, and Rex would be gone, and Gino would be gone, and Vic would be gone at the end of the year, and I would start fresh.
I agree. I agree with you. And I don't like to advertise for people losing their jobs because at the end of the day, that's your livelihood. That's how you actually support your family. I know I certainly wouldn't want somebody saying, Ryan Ruocco needs to lose his job. So I never like to take it to that level so aggressively, but if you look at this team right now, it needs a purging. It needs to be completely cleaned out.
It's terrible. There's not one, I've heard so much, well, they fight for Rex Ryan and they want to play. They're 1-7, Ryan. They've lost 7 games in a row. Geno Smith is unplayable. I mean, we sat here thinking we were going to find out what Geno Smith is. I think we know what Geno Smith is. Geno Smith is a bad quarterback in this league. You look at what we saw in this league yesterday. Roethlisberger for 522. Andrew Luck over 400 yards. Drew Brees over 300 yards. You could go up and down. You had Matthew Stafford in another country throwing for over 300 yards. Russell Wilson down the stretch, big game. Alex Smith was fine. Tom Brady last 4 games, 14 touchdowns and no interceptions. And the Jets tried out Geno Smith, who looked like he was scared to be out there, goes 2 of 8 with 3 interceptions. It was embarrassing. It's broken, and I don't see it getting fixed anytime soon.
Dave, the third interception was one of the worst passes I have ever seen in the history of the NFL. That decision and that throw, what is Geno Smith looking at there? What is he seeing? And right now, the Jets are lined up to have an outstanding draft pick because this thing is rotten, and it's only going to stink worse as the rest of this season goes on. It's over. It's all over. It's done. The Rex era is done. This experiment with Idzik, I probably would move on from as well because you know what? this team is going to have a high enough draft pick at the end of this year that they could be attractive to prospective, GMs or head coaches.
But answer this for me, okay? Now, you've watched this team. You watch them every week. Do you think the Jets have the third pick in the draft if John Idzik is the GM, that you have complete confidence that he gets it right?
No, I don't. And that's why I think it's difficult and not necessarily fair to get rid of a GM after a year and a half or 2 years. But you have to do what's best for your franchise. And I don't have that inherent faith in him.
Are they going in the right direction?
No, they're going in the wrong direction.
And they have, and the thing that gets me crazy, and I was up in Bristol yesterday, I was working with a Raiders fan, okay? And he goes, you know what separates the Raiders, who are god-awful, at 0-7 now, and the Jets? At least the Raiders spent money in the offseason.
Yeah.
They brought in, you look up and down that roster, they brought in Justin Tuck, they brought in the other linebackers, they brought in big-time players. Now, they still stink, and maybe they misspend their money, but how you can be 1-7 and sit here and tell me, well, they have a lot of money that they didn't spend in the offseason is beyond me.
No, it was an oversight, I think, an egregious one in the offseason. Either it happened because the Jets were incredibly deliberate with their negotiations. I don't think it was by plan. I don't think this was hey, let's save our money and be terrible this season so that we go get the quarterback we want next season, and then we'll spend all that money and be able to build around him. I don't think it was that, because you spent a second-round pick last year. This GM did. Spent a second-round pick last year on this quarterback. So I don't think you can convince me that he knew his guy wasn't the guy after 1 year and wanted to tank to get the guy. So with that in mind, the GM didn't put around his second-round pick what could have helped him. The guy has played horribly. The head coach, as much as I love him, it's over. The era now, it's over. I like Rex. I think he could be a good head coach somewhere else. But at some point, you can't continue to fail in the same spot. You need something fresh. Yesterday was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. And the problem is, it wasn't unexpected. When you get to a point...
You expected that, though?
I didn't expect that, but as it's unfolding, are you saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening to the Jets?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm saying this is kind of typical.
I mean, I think we've become accustomed to this bad play.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I didn't expect them to get killed. They got killed by Buffalo,
I agree,
right?
But isn't that a problem, Dave?
Yeah.
You just said we've become accustomed to this. I mean, that's a problem. When something like yesterday happens and I'm laughing more than I'm shocked, that's a problem. That means there's something wrong at the heart of your organization. And the owner should not stand for it. What happened yesterday needs to have some kind of repercussion. What's gone on here? You've lost 7 straight games. That's pathetic.
You've lost half a season in a row. When you lose to Kansas City, and you will, when you lose to Kansas City, you will have lost half a season of football in a row.
It's egregious. And you realize yesterday the Jets had twice as many turnovers as they've forced this year. A defense that's supposed to be daunting.
But stop with that.
I know.
I mean, stop.
But it's terrible. It's an awful defense. It really is, because they don't do anything to wreck a game. Nothing. Ever. They don't make any of those game-changing plays. Yeah, sometimes they don't allow yardage. Who cares? You don't do anything to give your team a short field. 3 turnovers, really? You forced 3 turnovers
in the year,
in 8 games. I mean, that is just pathetic.
Could you imagine if they forced 6 turnovers over a full 16-game schedule? That would have to be the lowest in the history of the game.
Look, Dave, if you look at this team right now, don't you just sort of feel like their only path to getting back to a place where you feel like there could be sustained success is to clean house?
Yeah, I've been saying that for weeks, though. Yes, look, let me ask you this. You've seen enough. We don't need to break it down and get into deep discussion. You've seen enough from Geno Smith to know that he's not a future starting quarterback with your team, right?
Yes.
Okay. Rex Ryan, look, I think he's a fun guy. He had huge success here when he first came here. It's not working now.
No.
Okay? And for some reason, and I guess it's his way and his defensive mind, for some reason Rex Ryan doesn't look at the game the way every other head coach seems to look at it, and that's, we need the quarterback. But Rex and the Jets think we can have a big physical offensive line and a good defense and win games by controlling the football. No, you can't. You can't. And people say, well, Seattle does that. They don't. Russell Wilson is a big-time quarterback.
You know what he is? He's a playmaker.
He is.
He makes plays at crucial moments. Yesterday, he ran 15 yards when they needed 15 yards on that final drive. And then he threw a dart to Luke Wilson to win that game against Carolina. They're down 9-6. Yeah, the offense isn't impressive, but that quarterback makes plays.
And when they had to be, and plus they're Super Bowl champions from last year, so you give them a little bit of slack. Yes, do I think they should? Look, Michael Vick, as bad as Geno Smith was, Michael Vick, he's not careful with the football. He fumbles at every other play. He's not the future. Rex, I don't think, is the future. Idzik is going to become the tricky one because he can say, and the owner will say.
Well, it wouldn't be fair to get rid of him, but it might be right.
You might be right. It may not be fair.
It may not be fair, but it might be right.
But sometimes you can't always be fair. And if I was a Jets fan today, I would be beside myself. Look, you lose at home to Peyton Manning and the Broncos, that happens. You play competitively with the New England Patriots, okay, at least you came and you gave something. You lose a narrow game, a narrow loss up in Green Bay. Green Bay may be the best team in the NFC right now. Yesterday, for me, was as bad as it gets. And you know what? I don't know how Geno can be back. I don't know how Rex can be back. And at this point, I don't know how Idzik can be back.
It was terrible. Rex Ryan talking about Geno Smith and why he would ever continue to have confidence.
I think the young man's got the ability. I do. I believe he has the ability. And I think he has some mental toughness. And I think it's just a matter of time.
Geno worried about being benched?
I'm just worried about, what I do to get better from the day. I've got a lot of work to do. I got my work cut out for myself, but it's something that I believe that I can get turned around.
I mean, Rex, can this quarterback ever overcome this inconsistency?
That would be one way to think about it, but I don't think that way. I think this young man eventually is going to be a really good quarterback in this league. And again, time will tell. And I understand where you're coming from. It seems like he's had that, but I believe in him more than that.
Ryan Ruocco, Dave Rothenberg with you on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. Brian and Nanuet. Brian, you're on the Maserati of Morris County hotline.
Hey, guys. Great to be on the show. Thanks. I have to say, what's worse than anything is that a lot of people are going to say the Jets are the worst team in football. And when you look at it player for player, they're not the worst team. But when you look at the way that they play, how they're coached, just the whole organization, they are the worst team.
They're terrible. And that's what it is, Ryan, right now. Look, do I think they're worse than the Raiders? Look, they beat the Raiders, so they're probably not that bad. But if I said to you right now, you can have the Jaguars roster or the Jets, you take the Jaguars because they just may have that future quarterback. The Raiders may, and I don't know that Derek Carr is going to be, but they may have that guy. I know the Jets don't have that guy on this roster.
No, they don't. It'll help them moving forward that those two teams do, because the Jaguars and Raiders aren't going to use a pick on a quarterback this year, and they may be the only two teams in the NFL worse than the Jets. So the Jets are picking third, and those are the two teams ahead of them. They'll have their pick of the litter at quarterback, picking at number 3, assuming no one traded up.
What's so depressing is you got to start fresh again.
Yeah.
They just started fresh 2 years ago when Idzik took the job.
I agree. This is Jerry Blast tweets at us, and I think he articulates it well. He said, how many general managers who are trying to build a team would love to have $30 million in cap space, which he had in the beginning of the offseason, John Idzik, and 12 draft picks? He had both and failed at both. 2 contributors, Amaro and Pryor, and cap left. And by the way, I think you're being very generous with Amaro and Pryor.
I'll tell you, I think Amaro's going to be good. Pryor, I don't know about. And last night, I'm sitting there on Sunday Night Football watching Brandon Cooks run up and down the field. That's the guy that I wanted the Jets to take. That's your home run hitter.
Yep.
They appeased Rex. They gave him the safety. The defense is supposed to be so good. It's not.
It's as simple as this. Do you trust the GM to be the guy to bring you out of this rut and take you back where you need to go?
Do I?
Yeah.
No.
So then you need someone else.
But I'm not making the decision to
I know,
fire
but
him.
if you're in that organization, it's no different than Don and Kay, and Kay not trusting Don to watch Callie. Has Don done everything right in his life to be a representative human being, a good, earnest man, and do right by Michael Kay? Yes, he has.
It's just like this?
Is it fair for Michael to say, sorry, you can't watch Callie? Well, it's not necessarily fair, but it's the right thing to do. He doesn't trust the guy with his kid.
Well, I don't think you have to bring that up.
Well, I think it was appropriate at this moment. Mike in Manhattan. Mike, you're on the Maserati of Morris County hotline with Ruocco and Rothenberg.
Dave, Ryan, how are you?
What's up, Mike?
As a Jets fan, this season there's no way for me to describe it. It's beyond a hot mess. The GM, you have money and draft picks, and you give us Amaro and Pryor. Now, Amaro, he can catch, but Pryor, he is not a cover safety. He's a box safety. You need corners who can cover the ball. So how about this one idea? You have a cornerback who can cover somebody. You don't have to safety who can't cover somebody. Because what does that do? That does nothing. Okay? Don, is if you have failed miserably. After the game, you should have been fired yesterday. Gone. Goodbye.
Wow.
You can't do anything. You're helpless.
He has been.
Gone. Goodbye.
It's frustrating. Now, that's the kind of Jet fan I appreciate and like. Not necessarily saying John Idzik should be fired today, but because he expects something and he demands something out of his team. Guys like Coven23, who always tweets at us because, we hate the Jets more than anybody. You need to keep cap money around. Why are you guys so biased? You want the Jets to fail. I'm sorry. Is something good happening here that we're not seeing? If there's something good going on with the New York Jets, we're just missing. Everybody in the world with eyes is missing. Coven23, you pointed out to us. Because I can't think of why you would need $30 million to go sign Muhammad Wilkerson and keep him around so that you can continue to lose 7 straight games. Because it's clear he's not enough to affect wins and losses on his own, right? Do you like the product with him? You had definite needs at obvious positions, at wideout and corner in the offseason. You had a lot of options at those positions, more than you normally would when it comes to unrestricted free agency, especially at the corner spot. And you delivered by bringing in nobody. You delivered by bringing in a corner who had been on 7 teams and went AWOL on you. And you delivered by bringing in one receiver who's pretty good, but paying more for him than a lot of other receivers who are having better years than him did at that position.
He's decent. You know what? And I've said this before, and I think it holds true more now than ever. The biggest blunder that could have happened, I don't even know if blunder is the fair word to use, is going 8-8 last year, Ryan. They should have gone 4-12 last year. 8-8 made everyone think that, you know what, we're not that far off in one little piece here. And how many times? And I said it myself, you know what, they were 8-8 last year, and now they had Decker, and now they had Amaro, and now they had Chris Johnson. It has to be better.
The Chris Johnson one was pathetic.
Oh, well, Chris Johnson is so done. But you know what? It has to be better. You know what? It wasn't 8-8 last year. Your record was, but you were not. You look, every game they won by the skin of their teeth, and every game they lost by 3 touchdowns. And this year, this team is dreadful. They can't get out of their own way. They don't have a quarterback. They have nothing that puts the fear of God into the other team. They can't stop any team offensively. They don't turn you over. It's bad. It's really, really bad right now.
Coven23's at it again.
What do you say now?
Yeah, now he's saying you guys give backhanded compliments to the Jets. Are so obvious. No, we're not. Not giving any compliments. They're not backhanded, they're not side-handed, they're not front-handed. They're non-existent.
You don't get it. When you're 1-7 and you can't compete, you don't get anything from us.
They don't deserve compliments.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.